Hello and welcome to the Actual Tech Media EcoCast. My name is Jess and I am excited to be here with you all today. But before we jump into our content, I have some basic information that I want to cover with you. All right, let's kick off our day here today by taking a quick tour of your audience console. And we're going to start with the questions window. So if you haven't already said hi, there is a whole audience of cool humans out there, so reach out and give a wave to the other members of the Actual Tech Media community. Now, keep in mind that if you do have any technical issues today, a browser refresh is going to fix just about anything. But if those tech gremlins are clinging on today, no problem. Just throw a comment in the question section and our crew will be there to help. We also want this to be an informative webinar for you, so throughout today's EcoCast, we hope you'll get engaged and ask all your burning questions. Not only will we have team members responding to you over a live chat, we will also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of our presentations. Now, if we don't get to your question during the live webinar today, don't worry, because the awesome experts that we have here with us will be following up after we wrap. All right, next up, there's going to be lots of cool aha moments on the EcoCast today. And if you want to share those with your community, we've made it nice and easy for you. You can use the Twitter button right there in your audience console, and the hashtag for today's EcoCast will be automatically added to your post. All right, our last stop on this guided tour, be sure to check out the handouts tab for some awesome resources and takeaways from our speakers here today. We have an info pack collection, solution briefs, white papers, data sheets, free trials, ebooks, upcoming webinars, and more. So many great resources, so be sure to go explore. Now, if that wasn't enough fun, we also have some exciting prizes that we'll be giving away throughout today's EcoCast. I'm going to tell you a bit more about those later on, but a few quick reminders for you all. First, you do need to be here live in attendance at the EcoCast in order to qualify to win a prize, and we will follow up with all of you after we wrap. Now, all winners must submit an IRS Form W-9 to Actual Tech Media, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. Now, if you don't know what those full T's and C's are, that's fine. We've got the full thing for you. Just head on over to that handouts tab, click in, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll find them waiting for you there. Now, the absolute most important thing to remember is that we love getting all your insightful questions during these live webinars. In fact, we love it so much that we actually have a special additional prize for all you inquisitive folks out there. So in today's EcoCast, we will be giving away a prize for the best question asked in each of our live sessions. Now, the expert speakers and teams will review all questions asked after we wrap the webinar, which means that even if your question does not get read out in a live session, there is still a chance to win. If you are a lucky winner here today and you would like to donate the value of your prize, we have several wonderful organizations that we partner with. So let us know when we follow up about your big win, and we'll get that rolling for you. Again, we are so happy to have you all here with us live at the EcoCast today, and we want to keep that good feeling going, so let's connect on social media. Reach out and connect with Actual Tech Media on Twitter and on LinkedIn. We have lots of great content, and we always want to hear from you. Now, if you're looking for more awesome content and resources right after we wrap the EcoCast today, be sure to subscribe to the Actual Tech Media channel on YouTube. Another fun way to win a prize and, hey, grow this awesome community is to refer an industry friend or a coworker to the Actual Tech Media webinar series. Now, you'll find a link to do that right in your handouts tab, and you will also be automatically redirected at the end of the webinar. And both you and your coworker or friend could win a prize, and we hold those drawings every month. So be sure to refer a friend because, it could quite literally be a win-win situation. Next, we have a cool opportunity for all the decision makers out there to get connected with new and emerging tech and innovative vendors. Here's how it works. All you need to do is click on the link in your handouts tab, fill out a quick application, and the Actual Tech crew will then match you with some vendors that we think you should probably be chatting with based on your needs. There will also be fun opportunities that you get to choose to join in, like surveys, test runs, new solutions, extended demos, and so on. You'll get some chances to win extra prizes, you'll chat with great people, and you'll learn about the hottest new trends in tech. So be sure to apply, or hey, send that link to a decision maker on your team. Now, I want to take a quick minute here to remind you all about one of my favorite resources, and that is ransomware.org. You can find out everything you need to know about ransomware, how to prepare, prevent, and recover. This site is jam-packed with information, helpful tips, checklists, strategic approaches, case studies, everything you need in one place. So wherever you are in your ransomware preparedness journey, there is something for you at ransomware.org. Go check it out and start exploring. All right, I have one more exciting resource I have to tell you about today, and that is the Gorilla Guide Book Club. It's going to give you access to free enterprise IT books authored by top industry experts, so you can stay up to date on trending enterprise technology. And yes, these books will work on your Kindle, your mobile device, and as I said, they are completely free. You can download these awesome resources at gorilla.guide, and there's a link for you in that handouts tab as well. All right, well, we have covered a lot of important things already, and I don't know about you all, but I am excited to dive in. So let's get going.
Hello, and welcome, folks. It is time to dive in on today's topic, Taming Storage Chaos, simplifying on-prem and cloud-based storage architectures. Data. We have generated so much data in the past few years. It's so valuable. We can do so much with it, but it is indeed a beast to be tamed. How do we keep costs down in an expansive environment? How do we effectively, seamlessly, and securely manage data? You may have asked yourselves these questions. How do we keep it from becoming too complex? Well, on today's EcoCast, we'll be exploring best practices for integrating on-prem and cloud-based storage solutions and allowing for seamless access that is secure. And luckily, we have top experts in the field with us today to explore these best practices and emerging tech in the field to tackle this challenge at hand. I'm sure you are all ready and pumped up to get started, so we will go through a few last bits of housekeeping info, and then we're going to get our speakers on out here with us. My name is Mackenzie Puddesy, and I am a moderator here at Actual Tech Media. My friends and fellow moderators, Jess Steinbach, Scott Becker, and Keith Ward are also here with us on live chat today. If it's your first EcoCast with me, it is great to meet you, and thank you for being here. I've seen a few of you say hello out there, but just to make sure you are all awake and alive, why don't you find that questions tab in your console, and let's start out by saying hi, hello, bonjour, hola, aloha, or whatever greeting you'd like to leave today, and give a wave to the community here with us. Now, I've got something more for you today other than valuable information. We also have some prizes coming down the pipeline. Today on the EcoCast, you could win one of three $300 Amazon gift cards that we will be giving away to 3 lucky winners who are here live and present with us on the EcoCast. As mentioned in the housekeeping chat, you can find the full T's and C's linked in the handouts tab if you have any questions about that. And hey, with that, I think we are basically ready to rock. So, our keynote speaker here today, here with us to open things up and get us set on this topic is Bill Clayman. Bill is a fantastic speaker. He's a board member and lead technologist at Neuro, and I mean, he'll be telling us a few other things and projects he's involved with, but I'm so excited to have Bill here today. And Bill, I'm going to kick things right over to you to get things opened up for today. Take it away, Bill.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Actual Tech Media presentation, Taming Storage Chaos, Simplifying On-Premise and Cloud-Based Storage Architectures. I am Bill Clayman, co-founder and CEO of Apollo.us, where we get a chance to work on some really cool AI, generative AI kind of projects. And yes, we deal with quite a bit of data. I am also the AFCOM Data Center World Program Chair and the contributing editor for Data Center Knowledge, Data Center Frontier, and a few other really popular blogs as well. I am so excited to be talking to you about this. And we don't have to talk about generative AI. We're going to be talking about data, storage, and obviously taming all the chaos that comes with it. Now, listen, we have created so much information over the past few years, and it's not just cat videos any longer. We are coming online faster than ever before. Now, before we jump into the topic of conversation, let's discuss you, and I guess me as well, data by the numbers. Now, it goes without saying that we've continued to see a pretty steady rise in the amount of information that we're creating every single day. Now, social media use timeline, if you take a look at all the way to the left on that one, the orange timeline, that's where Facebook came out, and actually MySpace. Now, I am what's known as a geriatric millennial. I don't know why they need to do that. Just call me an older millennial. But I remember MySpace, and take a look at just how far we've come over those years. And internet use timeline, oh my gosh, take a look and just how much we are using the internet every single day. And that line all the way to the left, back in the early 90s, was the release of the very first web page. Now, we have come a really long way, but believe it or not, the topic of this conversation, taming all this storage chaos, is because we're going to have so much more data that's going to be created. We have entire populations still not connected to the internet. For example, about half of the world in India not yet connected, and looking at China, Pakistan, and the rest of the world, where we are still going to actively see more folks coming online and leveraging more of these data systems. And believe me, none of this is going away because we are still connected. We're using more of these systems. And the reality of the situation is now with things like generative AI, more connections, more devices, more use cases. And as a result, because of what you and I are all doing, we are going to see an absolutely massive data creation event unlike something we've ever seen in the past. And again, I think this is going to be one of the biggest new normals that are going to be a part of our world, more data and working with it. But here's the thing. In the past, a lot of this information would just go in the cloud, but that's not the case anymore. So we have to ask the question, this data that we're creating, all this information, does it all ultimately belong in the cloud? Well, all right, I'm going to share some really cool findings with you. So in the latest AFCOM State of the Data Center report, we actually asked that question. We went to our audience and we're like, all right, here's the big question. Do you see data actually moving from the cloud back to on-premise? Now, we asked this question for the past 3 years. And for the past 3 years, we were getting a majority of respondents stating that, yeah, we're actually seeing a level of repatriation happening from the cloud back to on-premise. Now, full stop. Nobody on this webinar better be going on their favorite social media platform and saying, Bill Clayman is saying that the cloud is going away. That is not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that we, as an industry, we've reached a maturity level. We now better understand what needs to be living in the cloud and what should be living on premise. Take a look. Most respondents, 71%, have seen a migration of workloads from cloud back to on-premise data centers. And a result, 71% have seen an increase in power load demand, of which about a quarter reported that this was significant. My goodness, we are growing both as an industry, but also as people who are connected. So let's get into the topic of this conversation. Taming storage chaos, on-prem, cloud-based storage architectures, so much data, so much storage. It's quite a bit of taming. So let's just jump into this. Now, I want to preface this. I spent quite a number of years working at a VAR that was sizable, right? It was one of the largest Citrix partners in the country. And I worked with a lot of converged, hyper-converged architectures. Actually, some of the folks on this webinar, like Scale and NetApp, I had a chance to design really cool hyper-converged and converged different kinds of architectures to support many different kinds of use cases. So when we start to take a look at removing the chaos, we have to understand that there's different types of storage architectures in general. When we start to take a look at storage architecture, and this is something for you to just kind of think about, it's not just a piece of data or an appliance, right? It's network, it's storage, it's compute, it's the encompassing hardware and software, the networking components, like I said, all of those elements that are required to store data more effectively. Now, there are different types and importances of storage architecture. Obviously, in the past, we could go down to our old school technology like a pen and a piece of paper. Well, obviously, this thing is far more important today than ever before. And obviously, cloud and on-premise environments, again, not everything necessarily needs to live in the cloud. We'll talk about that in just a second, but understand that there are use cases for what needs to live on-prem and in the cloud as well. Now, in terms of understanding some of the more important features, that's what we're going to be diving into. First, data observability in your infrastructure. You need to know what's happening with your information. You need to know effectively how it's being transited, especially if it's a heterogeneous environment. Now, the last thing you want to experience is what's known as a swivel chair effect, right? Where your administrators have to look at too many screens just to get to one answer. Now, in this case, unified visibility and monitoring tools are going to be really, really critical. Now, the other big thing that I've noticed is when you have to burst and when your business grows, the ability to scale, proactive capacity planning, that's a big one. A lot of times we get flat-footed by saying, oh my gosh, we need X amount of storage, but not realizing that we're only going to be able to get it a few months out. So being able to have predictive analytics and efficient resource scaling and optimizing strategies for things like load balancing, resource pooling, auto scaling, ensuring that your resources are maximally utilized is going to be really important because storage is finite. your bits, your bytes, your megabytes, your petabytes, they're going to run out. So you want to make sure you're using them as effectively as possible. Now, here's the other one. If there's ever an issue, you must resolve them even faster than before. Like I said earlier, right? We've got pen and paper, but that's not something we can turn to because literally these storage arrays are the lifeblood of our business. So we have to quickly identify and resolve these issues. You have to modernize your troubleshooting techniques, right, to be able to isolate and diagnose really much more core issues that are happening much more proactively as well down to the user layer sometimes. And most of all, how is it impacting the applications, right? Whether it's SaaS, on-prem, in distributed kinds of environments at the edge, very, very important. Now, one of my favorite functions that I'm going to be honest with you, you have to enable it. And sometimes when I still go into a storage environment, it's actually still disabled. Data duplication, right? Your ability to actually remove redundant data points, duplicate data to optimize storage and storage space and reduce storage cost. This is a big one, right? Because you're actually optimizing what you have to work with and actually increase data integrity because you have, you're preventing data loss or corruption because you don't have these multiple points of information just sitting out there. Really, really important. But I put this one out there just because often enough, people have it disabled and either don't turn it on or are not sure what it does. So that's a big one. Now, we are on our last bit of information, just a couple more minutes. This is called the rapid fire round from Bill Clayman. Key features and functions to tame that storage chaos. These are going to be my favorite ones. This is a moment where you listen to this entire presentation, just grab a gold nugget, find something that's interesting to you, and at least go back to your existing organization and say, are we doing this? Are we deploying these kinds of storage functions or features? Are we actually enabling our users? So let's dive into some of these, and I'm sure you're going to hear about some of this as we go in through the conversation. But these are some key functions and features that I think are really important for you to keep an eye on. So data segmentation, performance optimization, and cost efficiency. Your ability to automatically automated tiering your data into pools, repositories is actually really, really critical because you're able to balance storage costs by utilizing lower cost storage tiers for less frequently accessed data while ensuring optimal performance. So for example, cost efficiency, knowing what to put on flash versus spinning disk, placing different level of data accessibility types of storage environments into your ecosystem is going to be really important because you can automatically categorize this data based on who's using it, how frequently it's being used, and actually where it's being stored. So really, really important, great function and feature. Now, if something goes wrong, you need to be able to recover far more effectively and faster than ever before. So in that case, importance of preparedness, your RTOs, recovery time objectives, and strategic protocols to ensure for backup processes, recovery processes, failover mechanisms, all of this is really important. And it cannot be complicated. It means you must have an architecture that can support recovery, load balancing, even secondary sites far more effectively than you can right now. Again, very, very important in case something goes wrong. Now, when we start to take a look into an overall architecture, cost and storage architecture, this is a pretty big one. So cloud costs, on-premise investments, and budget allocation. Please don't just gloss over this because FinOps, financial operations, their entire job is to quantify and qualify the cost of cloud. How much does it cost me to deploy this thing on site versus, for example, in a major cloud provider? You need to be able to understand this because, again, bits and bytes have a place to live, sometimes in the cloud, and sometimes it's supposed to be on-premise within your facility. Use storage systems that help you better understand what is supposed to live where. Now, that was a tremendous amount of information, and you're going to be getting a whole lot more from it today. And there's going to be a lot of really key points. Again, this isn't just an appliance. This isn't just a piece of storage you put into your ecosystem. You need to look at optimization strategies. You need to think about things like security and compliance as well. We didn't get into it too much. I'm sure we're going to have those conversations today. So industry standards to ensure data governance, privacy protection, legal compliance, safeguarding sensitive data, preventing unauthorized access or breach. And again, sometimes when you're cloud, it's your job to deadbolt those doors and create a secure architecture. But again, it doesn't mean that data information always has to live in the cloud. You need to understand and find that balance, and working with good partners who help you understand how to tame that storage chaos is going to be a great avenue to actually getting an environment, a healthy data storage environment. That is it from me. Make sure you follow me on all these wonderful social media platforms. We can talk all you want about storage and data platforms, because you know what? That's a very critical topic. But you know what? Now, to continue the conversation, enjoy the rest of the chat. Back to you.
Awesome, Bill. Love your energy. Love your rapid fire round. Definitely some great takeaways there for everyone out in the audience. Now, if you are looking at your console, you're going to see a poll here asking about what your time frame is for adding new or updating existing IT solutions at your company. So as we kind of step into how to manage all this data, is this something you're looking to do in the next 6 months? Is this quite urgent for you? Is this 6 to 12 month timeline? Are you looking for a couple of years? Or maybe you're not sure, and that's okay too. And you're just here sussing things out, looking at some options, and then going to make some more informed decisions after that. Now, thank you for taking the time to fill that in. I will have a couple polls later on in today's presentation. So again, interaction is the name of the game. Thank you so much for being interactive today, using the questions tab, and we are going to have more questions and Q&A with each presenter. So if you missed it in the housekeeping chat this morning, aside from the $300 Amazon gift cards, we also have a $50 best question gift card for each session. So as you listen on into our speakers coming up here today, please do ask some insightful questions, some thoughtful questions, and I'll be joining each speaker for a live Q&A after they present. Now, with that, I did mention this is going to be kind of a short and sweet EcoCast. We've got just 2 presenting teams here. It's going to fly by. It's going to be jam-packed with valuable information, as always. So let's dive into it. Today, we have the Scale Computing team coming out of the gates. The team is going to kick off our EcoCast, and I've got Chris Neitzold, the Senior Hardware Engineer at Scale, who's going to be chatting with us. And after that, I'm going to join Chris for the Q&A. So, Chris, are you ready to take things away?
I sure am.
Awesome. Go ahead.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So yeah, my name is Chris Neitzold. I work in the product team in a role of Senior Hardware Engineer, and I manage all of our appliances and all of the integration on that side of things. So taming the storage chaos, we know that cloud computing, it significantly accelerated our ability to support digital business, provided better availability and scalability without the burden of managing IT infrastructure. But as we know, not all applications or really data should be stored or run in the cloud. There are situations where it may not make sense. Why not put everything in the cloud? Well, the things that we hear from people that we engage with are, number one, cost, not just the cost of the cloud storage, but also keeping those costs predictable. And that's really because of just data explosion. Things like video surveillance or sensors out at the edge that can have kind of a lumpy ingress of the amount of storage that is going to be eventually needing to be stored. Another one is latency. There's a lot of applications, especially newer applications, that are requiring more real-time response. And so, ensuring that the data can be stored quickly and also retrieved and accessed quickly for analysis or for really supporting the application is critical. Another is resiliency. And normally you would think of cloud storage as being quite resilient, but what if you are in a situation where you don't have a network connection? Think, for example, shipping freighters that are crossing the ocean. Starlink has made a lot of inroads in making data accessibility a lot better, but there's still scenarios where where having the data on premises is really important. And then, of course, regulation. There's myriad regulation out there as far as what we can do with PII, where user data can be stored, and what data is considered critical and not. Navigating that can be a little bit tricky. Making sure that the data is local gives you complete control over that. So I mentioned the edge, and the word gets kicked around quite a bit. But really, it's important. What is the edge? It's all the locations where mission critical applications are run, close to or even outside of the data center. And Gartner reports that by 2025, 75% of all data will be generated and processed at the edge. And we're really seeing that pick up quite a bit. Needless to say, we see this as a growth opportunity. moving on. So with the need for on-prem storage, in addition to the cloud, that's clear. We need to have both of those elements. And while the needs are well understood, the choice of infrastructure solution is critical, really due to the unique challenges that are posed by managing both on-prem and cloud storage. It can get quite complex. So when we do have a larger storage footprint, it's critical that the solution that's deployed on-prem can provide availability, and it has to be simple, and it has to be efficient, but it also has to be flexible because, again, we don't know what that data is always going to look like. So Scale Computing Platform, it combines everything that you need kind of under one umbrella. You have the actual underlying Scale Computing Hypercore software, and that covers your virtualization, the interaction with the actual hardware and the servers, the storage, the backup and disaster recovery, and a very powerful fleet management tool that we call Scale Computing Fleet Manager, and that delivers a single manageable solution for enterprise edge customers, MSPs, and the like. So HyperCore, it's really the software that runs on premises. It's the entire HCI stack. It's very easy to deploy. In fact, it can be deployed in an automated fashion such that you set up the deployment even before the hardware arrives on site. It's fully integrated, and the virtualization solution provides high availability. Now, Fleet Manager, on the other hand, it makes monitoring of the health and status of all of the systems that you might have out in the field extremely easy. It's cloud-based, centrally managed for all deployments, and it can manage any number of clusters. You have proactive alerting. You can highlight areas that need attention from a dashboard. Everything is right there letting you know if you have something that's not performing up to par or has some condition that needs to be addressed, or if everything is operating smoothly, that's also fed back to you. You've also got the ability to drill down to the cluster level, to the node level, and even to the VM level, and even jump directly into those VMs right from that cloud interface. So at the core of the storage portion of Scale Computing Platform is Scribe, and that's our Scale Computing Reliable Independent Block Engine. This was developed because at the time there was really nothing that fit the bill. We had used several off-the-shelf solutions and attempted to adapt them to what we needed, but nothing really fit the bill. And really, it came down to the footprint as far as resources are concerned, the reliability, the atomic nature of making sure that the data is confirmed from one end to the other. This is a block engine-based engine. And like I said, very minimal overhead, extremely stable, and it also bypasses the entire normal storage stack that you would find within an operating system and speaks directly to drives. Paired with that, we have our AIM functionality. This is the Autonomous Infrastructure Management Engine, and this is really the think of it as the watchdog for the system. So it takes a bunch of data points from all of our collectors. Those collectors get fed into these checked values that are looking for the status of each of those collector elements. And from there, things are business as usual, or they can raise conditions. And once a condition is raised, it goes through a series of logic choices and actions to either self-remediate that issue, or if it's an issue that requires attention, it's going to raise that up and make sure that that's visible and it can be actioned immediately. In addition to that, of course, we have built-in data protection, starting with the VM level snapshots. Additionally, you have cloning, so you can have a template of a specific workload, or you can spin off a new workload, a new variant, for example. And then, of course, replication to either a secondary target or an offsite target. And that includes full VM recovery and then entire workload groups, if necessary. So really what we're looking to do is just move that beyond get the data beyond the traditional IT silos and have something that is as easy to manage as you would with cloud storage, but with a lot more insight into what's going on under the scenes. Really, you have a single unified redundant system, and it's everything is redundant. The storage is distributed among all of the nodes. There's no single node, single drive, etc. that's in the entire setup that would have only one copy of that data. So the data is distributed such that really hardware becomes a secondary concern. And then comparing to some of the more traditional options that are out there, VSA, for example, really we use a fraction of the resources. And so we make sure that the resources that you're putting out on premises, those resources are used to run your workloads rather than just running the storage subsystem. For each of the individual hardware nodes in a cluster, our starting point is under 4 gigabytes for the entire hypervisor and the storage layer management. And so really, in summary, with Scale Computing Platform, you have an extremely resilient system. It's extremely easy to set up and manage, and it also scales, as the name would imply, by just adding more storage and compute resources as needed. In addition to that, you can also mix and match nodes. We put a lot of effort into making sure that at the virtualization layer, we maintain compatibility regardless of which direction you're going. So even jumping between classes of CPUs, you won't run into a scenario where you have an incompatibility that might impact live migration, for example. And with that, I think I can open it up to questions.
Right. Sounds awesome. Thank you so much. Great presentation. We actually have quite a lot of questions, so let's see how many we can get through here together. I do want to quickly just mention to everyone in the audience, I'm going to throw up a poll here for you. So this is essentially just asking what additional information you might be interested in from Scale Computing. So data sheets, white papers, personal demo, pricing details, plunk in your answer. This is your wish list, your easy button. And after the EcoCast, the Scale team will get everything to you that you're looking for. Now that said, let's dive into it then. All right, Chris, you ready? You ready?
I sure am.
Okay, so first question I've got here is, what specific AI ops capabilities should IT professionals look for to improve efficiency and performance?
So great question, and it's actually in answering it, it's a bit of a misnomer. If you do have AI ops, the name of the game is that it's going to be self-managed. Really, there should be some level of intelligence, but under the hood, when we're looking for kind of attributes of what that means, from a storage perspective, block device error tracking, extremely important. That predictive analysis of any of the hardware, if we're seeing something coming up over the horizon or we're reaching end of service life or any other anomaly, we want to be able to react to that quickly. That's also going to include host environmental stats, simple things, speeds and feeds, your temperatures, your I/O rates, that sort of thing. Then also the clustered communication and network latency. Oftentimes the latency anomaly could sneak up on you, where that's building up a bit of a protracted SLA over time, and you want to make sure to stay on top of that. And then, of course, managing the data access patterns. And that kind of leads into the tiered storage architecture a bit, but really those data access patterns, if you really do have some hot regions, that's something that the system should be identifying and reacting to.
Incredible. Okay, thank you. Next question here is from Elizabeth. She's asking, are there any orchestration tools included with Scale Computing?
Yeah, so we kind of touched on the Fleet Manager. That Fleet Manager web interface that really gives you quite a bit of tools for things like deploying updates, for managing the status of all of the clusters out in the field. In addition to that, of course, we have our REST API, which can support any number of orchestration or automation activities that you want to perform. And then on top of that, Ansible. We have a full Ansible collection and playbook that you can use to deploy anything from the cluster configuration down to individual workloads, storage targets, everything else.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, next one I'm going to throw at you here is, what are the most critical techniques for proactive capacity planning in storage infrastructures?
That's a good one. So I think from my perspective, understanding kind of your growth metrics and your data trends, that one can be one of the trickiest, but getting some insight there, and especially over time, that can help with some proactive capacity planning. Also, is using an inherently scalable design. We use that from a cloud perspective. Of course, that's basically infinitely scalable as long as you have the wallet to support it. But making sure that you're using a scalable design so that if and when it's time to start putting out additional runway, you've got it. Performance metrics, of course, to triage your data inflows and making sure that you're keeping up with that. And that might require, again, scaling out a bit. And then also tiering to optimize the utilization and performance. Deduplication is critical. And then, of course, disaster recovery, because the capacity planning from just a rote perspective, that's fine. If you end up losing everything or can't recover, that's going to change your strategy quite a bit in an unpredictable way.
Excellent. We're going to talk a lot about storage, but to continue on storage and scaling, Michael is asking, does scale support containers and/or Kubernetes?
We do, yeah. We right now we're working on an initiative that will make using containers and specifically Kubernetes much easier and more of a turnkey experience. But of course, we would support running containers atop a host VM.
Perfect. All right. So lots in the works, lots of evolution. We still have a good chunk of time here, so I'm going to just keep these rolling if that's okay with you.
That'd be great.
Perfect. Okay. Next one is, could you explain how automated tiering and data deduplication work together to optimize storage performance and efficiency?
Yeah, definitely. So as far as the initial tiering, you have kind of your fast layer, and then you've got your slower layer. That fast layer is going to ensure that you're handling data inflows and making sure that they get to the fastest possible storage layer immediately. And then from there, you have your deduplication to make sure that you're just minimizing your footprint. And that's happening again at that top layer initially, where possible. And then longer term, you really have that data locality policy to make sure that you're using the storage most efficiency. So there's that kind of first filter that comes in and says, can we do some deduplication here? But then over time, as that data gets down tiered into kind of a colder storage layer, we're continuously going through and identifying any blocks or any fragments that can be deduplicated from there.
Excellent. When I pitched you the question, I was like, I don't know if I've seen deduplicated written very often. Like maybe you see that all the time, but I was like, deduplication. Okay. Okay. Next question here is from Steve. He's asking, do you need to convert your VM format to AWS for export or import?
As far as format conversion, there is some format conversion that happens under the hood, but as far as getting VM data onto the scale computing platform, for example, you have a number of avenues to do that. We have, of course, an interface where you can pull in from a network share. You can also do a direct upload of just what we call virtual media import, where you can just click and drag and throw it into the interface. It can also be thrown in through the API, can also be sent up via Ansible. All of these techniques, though, once the VM format comes in, we support a wide variety of formats, all of your VMDKs, VHD, VHDX, etc. And behind the scenes, without you having to get your hands dirty, that's going to be converted into a format that'll operate on platform. And if you need to move that data out to, say, a cloud storage provider, we use a standard QCOW2 format that should be fairly portable.
Yeah, excellent. Easy, easy. Okay, this is a bigger question here. Michael's asking, considering that much or most of the data is moving, will be processed at the edge, does it mean that each edge appliance will need the same tools or software that are, well, this is a wordy one, that are or have been used to process at the main central core servers? Does that mean more expense or on redundant software than, let's say they're budgeting for currently?
Sure, I think that one is going to come down to a bit of architecting and preference. We see all manner of different verticals that are operating using scale computing platform. Many of them will use individualized tool or bespoke tools at the edge that really serve a different function than the ones back at the kind of main cloud data stores, and because they're doing different work on that ingress. It's often the case that most of that data as it comes in isn't going to be needing to be stored, but some insights about it may need to be. So perhaps that comes in, some analytics are run, we get that final data that we really want to store and add to the collection, that gets sent off to the cloud, for example. And in that case, we wouldn't be using those same tools in the cloud. So there wouldn't be a duplication of effort there. But that's really going to depend on really each individual workload or approach.
Gotcha. Okay, excellent. Okay, a few more here. Next one is, what specific benefits does Scribe offer in terms of data accessibility, security, and overall storage efficiency?
Excellent question. So first off, and this was one that we had a hard time with, again, with the earlier incarnations before Scribe existed, but with atomic validated operations. We did not want to have to rely on, for example, battery backups or any kind of power loss protection to ensure that data was going to make it where it was going to make it. We have a system that ensures that that second copy is written and validated before anything moves on, and we consider it a completed write. There's also no after-the-fact consistency scrubbing. The way that the metadata layer works, as soon as that data is written, we can validate it, and it's constantly monitored so that we know that the data is there and it has the integrity that it needs. Then also the data locality management. As far as the multiple copies, we keep there's essentially a map. It's not really an index, but it's a map that shows where that data locality is. If there's ever a scenario where we run out of that replication factor 1 or replication factor 2, the system will automatically repatriate the data so that we maintain that. And then finally, that automated repatriation in the event of a hardware failure or in the event of reducing the size of an actual on-premises installation. There are situations where we've seen people bring down the size of a cluster because maybe they overestimated, or technology has just gotten better so they can consolidate a bit.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that. Great answer. Okay, I think I'm going to have time for 2 more questions. This has been great. I'm loving this. I get to really pick your brain. This one is about error or data recovery. So essentially just asking, what's the error or data recovery process if and when something happens?
Sure. I guess it would depend on what the scenario is. So our MO with Scribe especially is that any number of devices within a cluster, they can go down, and we have that covered. So in the event, for example, a drive goes down, it's just kind of a common occurrence that can happen. That data is immediately seen as not having that second copy. We immediately establish that second copy. If an entire node goes down, it's kind of the same thing. We just look at that slice and we say what data is missing, and we rebuild that. Now, in the event that you have, say, a double or triple fault, that we keep, as long as we have one copy of the data somewhere, if it can't be replicated at that point, we're going to lock things, raise a condition through the AIM automated responses that are going to say you are in a data redundancy degraded situation. This needs to be resolved immediately, and that might mean replacing a piece of hardware, might mean switching over to replication target or a backup. But we're going to make sure that there's a level of awareness immediately in that there's no action that's going to be taken that puts you into a further precarious situation.
Beautiful. And I assume that's all happening kind of, automatically through the software, and then someone's just going to get a notification. They're like, oh, this is missing, this is gone. If it gets to that heightened point.
Yeah, and once that condition comes up, that's really, hey, we've done what we can do. We're going to need a little bit of assistance from the Scale support team, or at least just the end user to let us know that, hey, this is occurring.
Okay. Truly, my last question for you here is, so Suresh is asking, essentially, what are limitations of an on-prem cloud solution? Okay, hold on. My poor punctuation here. But I guess he's kind of asking limitations for on-prem versus cloud solutions. Can you maybe give like your hottest answer of where you would go based on your mix of on-prem and what those limitations would be?
Yeah, I mean, the standout one is that in a cloud scenario, if you have the budget to handle it, you do have effectively unlimited resources. Managing that can be a bit of a challenge, but when you're on-prem, you do have a specific amount of resources. If you need to expand that, some action needs to be taken besides just clicking a expand my subscription button. So that is very real, and it's something that a lot of proactive planning can save you time and make sure that things just kind of roll out smoothly as that data and the demand for compute grows.
Awesome, thank you. So, true final question is, where should people go if they're interested? What's that call to action or best next step if they want to check out Scale and give it a go?
Yeah, I would say, scalecomputing.com. We have a lot of resources on there, a lot of testimonials, a lot of background information, white papers, information that you can get. And of course, you can always reach out to us, anybody on our sales and marketing team. We're happy to answer questions and just talk about the product and about your specific workload needs.
Amazing. Beautiful. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for supplying so much information, letting us pick your brain so diversely, and I can't wait to have you back in the future.
Awesome. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
A pleasure. Take care. Alrighty, so if you are out in the audience there and you want to learn more right away, of course, you can go right to Scale Computing's website, but we also do have a technical white paper in the handouts tab, so make sure you go grab it. That is outlining the Scale Computing platform, theory of operations, lots of juicy data in there, so grab it while you can. You may not be able to easily find it again, so you'll definitely want to hold on to that. And I am also going to give away the first of 3 $300 Amazon gift cards. So quick reminder, you must be present at the webinar to win. Thus, I hope your ears ring with excitement as you hear your name called. And our first lucky winner of the Amazon gift card is Amarpreet Singh from Maryland. Huge congratulations, and we will be reaching out after the EcoCast to let you know how to claim your prize. Also, thank you so much to everyone who sent in questions. We did manage to get through a whole bunch of them, but those who didn't have their questions answered, do not fret. These will be passed on to the Scale Computing team, and they'll be able to follow up with you directly. So again, keep up that engagement, keep asking great questions, because our next team we have presenting is NetApp. And from NetApp, we have Jeremiah Essig, Solutions Architect. And I'm also going to be picking Jeremiah's brain after he presents for us here in a second. So don't miss the opportunity. It's so great to have these experts here. And with that, I think, Jeremiah, we are ready to hear from you and excited to hear what you've got to tell us about Taming Storage Chaos. The floor is yours.
All right. Excellent. Thank you very much. Let me hit next here. Taming Storage Chaos. So, hey everyone, I'm glad to be here and I appreciate you joining us today. Just a quick little bit about myself. I'm a cloud solutions architect at NetApp, and I focus specifically on Cloud Insights, our observability platform. I've spent the last 12 years working with CI and its predecessor in sales, professional services as a consultant, and originally as a customer. I've been involved with observability from many different angles, and I've seen I've seen it all really, like simple use cases through complex integrations and all that. So today, while I talk to you, I'm going to try to say the word observability about 25 times or more, and I'm going to try to do it without twisting my tongue. So wish me luck. So for the agenda today, I'm going to talk about the complexities of managing a modern storage environment and how using Cloud Insights can simplify that. And at the end, we'll have some time for Q&A. All right, so before I discuss with you why observability, we should talk about what it is. And I'm sure that everyone understands what monitoring is, but observability is kind of a newer term that we've been using lately. Observability is not just another word for monitoring. In fact, both are needed to give an accurate overall picture of the state of your environment. Monitoring collects data and metrics about your environment, whereas observability interprets the data and puts it into context. Cloud Insights monitoring and observability is the ultrasound of the data center. It goes beyond what's on the surface to provide end-to-end visibility, to string all those pieces together to help you understand what your applications are comprised of, what's in contention of a shared resource, and how you can maintain consistent and predictable service levels. This allows our customers to be proactive and respond before there's a major incident. We provide insights into health, risk, and efficiency. Before I hit the next slide, so we only have a couple screenshots, and I kind of just wanted to, give you a bit of, talk about the screenshot real quick so that you can be thinking about it as I talk about other things as we go forward. So these are just little snippets from one actual landing page. And what we see here is we're looking at, topology, right? So we can see our VM through the hypervisor and the switches, and back to the storage. We understand, what resource we might be looking at, what's correlated. And then we're also going to surface, what's in contention, right? So when I talk about, these resources in contention are, like workloads in contention of like a shared resource. This is what I'm showing you. It's kind of bubbling up here. So next one. So yeah, storage is complicated, right? And honestly, I think the industry has done a really great job of simplifying its own platforms and tools to a point that, I have customers where they manage, where a couple engineers are managing hundreds of petabytes of data. It's really different than 15 years ago, right? Or 20 years ago. They can just do so much more. But that's really, using those simplified platforms, it really works only if you're using, a single vendor, or if it's in one or two locations, or you're focused on one data type. But that's not really what the vast majority of businesses are doing today. We know that a recent IDC survey showed that most companies today are hybrid, on-prem and in the cloud. That can be multiple physical locations, multiple hyperscalers, and most companies have, at least two storage vendors. And you're likely using at least two data types, right? File, block, or object. And each element's going to have its own siloed manager or tool set with its own feature sets and functionalities. And I'm going to bet that's at least, 5 tools for most of you. And what I'm hearing from customers right now is that, they have tool sprawl, right? And dashboard fatigue, really. If you have, if you're running, ONTAP, you have Unified Manager, you can use Storage Manager, you have the CLI and APIs, of course, and maybe you're doing some objects. You have Storage Grid, where you have the web interface, you have logs. You need to go back to Prometheus sometimes. And of course, each vendor has its own tools, right? You might be running Cisco and Brocade. You might be running one or more hypervisors. Hopefully all of your logs go into something like Splunk, and maybe you have other visualization tools as well. There's a lot of tool sprawl out there. So all the combinations that I just mentioned in the previous slide create these new challenges. As you add new services, vendors, or technology, you're just piling onto this pain. I've kind of seen this first column too often lately. You may have a team or a person that focuses on block, and one for file. A cloud team might have the responsibility of the cloud-based storage. And when you're troubleshooting an outage, you likely have to involve many of these experts who bring in their own tools to help. Each tool is looking at, each team is looking at, different screens. Some are scanning logs. You have to coordinate all your time zones so everyone's on the same page while you try to manually correlate what happened. You may be working with teams you don't work often with, right? Like cloud team, for instance, or virtualization, or your Kubernetes team. So I used to be a storage engineer. We were always blamed for we were always to blame when something was running slow. And I know you can lose valuable time troubleshooting, or worse, introduce inaccuracies and go down like the wrong rabbit hole, right? You want to decrease that time to innocence by simplifying the process with a common tool set. And when I talk about a common tool set, I'm not saying, get rid of all your vendor tools, because that's not what it's going to be. But a tool set where everybody can kind of get in and look at the same information that's taken from, that's taken from, that's all taken at the same time. I mean, one of the, questions here at the bottom right is, does conflict arise when comparing metrics between vendors and tool sets and between teams? And I hear this quite a bit. It'll say, hey, I'm looking at, I can see your storage through this tool and I can see your storage through that tool, and I see this amount of IOPS and this other team might see this amount of IOPS, or they might see this amount of latency. And really what's going on is, the polling intervals are set differently, right? They're not polling at exactly the same time. So they might be missing spikes, or they might be, they might be missing some data. A lot of tools are only collecting data, every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes, right? Some are, and a lot can be near time, but still, even near time tools, you're taking that data at different intervals. And so, that's when some of this conflict can arise. And so having a common tool set where everyone can log in and take a look at their own part of the infrastructure through the same thing, and be able to see straight through there from, from the VM or from their, from their VM or from their instance all the way down to the disk. And it's a shared infrastructure, right? So, and to the point here of governance, multi-vendor, like hybrid infrastructure, it can really be a patchwork of Excel spreadsheets to help you maintain and plan for capacity growth, both for performance and in storage capacity. This is another thing I see pretty often when I ask customers, how are you planning for growth, right? Again, both in just capacity, storage capacity, and performance capacity. And a lot of times it's spreadsheets. And when I'm talking to, management, their management, they're being given spreadsheets by their different groups, right? And this is, it's a length for some folks. It's a lengthy process, and it takes up valuable time. So it's, and this is my last challenge, this slide, before I start talking about, solutions, right? And it's more than just storage, right? So to state the obvious, troubleshooting requires being able to view more than just storage metrics. And my standard example here is that you receive a ticket and, my VM is slow, right? They have some workload, it's not performing as expected. And as the storage engineers, you might be getting this ticket because your virtualization team took a quick peek and their dashboard is green. And you look at the volume that this VM might be running on. And again, this, when I'm saying like volume in VM, I'm meaning, on-prem or in the cloud. And sure enough, there's a ton of IO against it. And without a single pane of glass, you're kind of back on the phone with your virtualization team talking about the IO that's being generated on the volume. And it can turn out that, say there's 2 or 3 or 10 other VMs that share the same volume, and they're creating an unusually high amount of IO, which in turn is causing latency on that original VM. So, you would hope, hopefully your VM team's up to date on who's running those VMs, and they can contact them. There might be new workloads that have spun up, SQL queries might have been updated. There's just some sort of new workload or something that's causing that additional pressure, right? So some of your workloads now might be migrated. And of course, there's lots of other examples, right? Volumes and contention of shared, storage pools, issues at the fabric level. Another one that I see quite often is CPU co-stop time is high on VMs because we used to provision, we'd provision VMs with a ton of CPUs because we had them. It's challenging to quickly arrive at a solution when you cannot see the pieces that make up the system at the same time. Sometimes you can easily visualize the issue when you see the data from different systems together. So NetApp's Cloud Insights provides a solution for the challenges I just discussed through the simplification of observability. And I'd like to help you save time so you can do other things like focus on higher value projects, or get some training, or get those backlogged projects completed. So Cloud Insights supports your infrastructure on-prem, wherever that may be, and in the cloud. We support many vendors natively. We have about 100 data collectors out of the box, and we provide a robust API, and we use Telegraph to integrate with other options. We support file, block, and object, as well as non-storage infrastructures, like VMs and Kubernetes. Again, all on-prem and in the cloud. And Cloud Insights is going to do this all under a single pane of glass. You no longer need silos while troubleshooting. Each group can use the same tool to do their work because all of your data is together. Cloud Insights can use AI to correlate data to help you understand faster which VMs are causing latency on one another, who it belongs to. We also use AI to help you understand capacity planning, so you'll know when your volumes or pools are filling up and when you should plan for additional nodes if you're running, because you're going to be running out of that performance capacity. We can help you mitigate risk. So CI will simplify the complexities of your infrastructure through centralized monitoring and alerting of your metrics and log events, proactive issue identification. This could be, time to full on pools or nodes, or monitoring of specific metrics to keep your workloads running. We can assist with configuration analysis. For performance monitoring, of course, this is your classic performance or capacity metric monitoring, but from a centralized location where you can create annotations or tags so that you can monitor, let's say, the latency on your database lens across all of your storage vendors. You can tweak your thresholds for different situations. Maybe you want an alert on latency over 20 milliseconds, but only if your IO is greater than 1,000 IOPS. Your performance monitoring, it can be broad or specific. An example that I like to use here is many years ago, I used to work for Getty Images, and I was on their storage team, and we're responsible for their data asset repository. And it could be easy and it could be volatile, right? So if something crazy happens in the world, all of a sudden, all these, TV stations and magazines and online publications want certain images, right? So think of something, big, right? Royal wedding was one when I was there. And, or the death of a star, right? So suddenly we need certain things, right? We need all these certain images. And so what if I was a customer at that point, what I would be able to do is annotate everything around where those images lie and how we're going to serve that. And I could quickly build up a dashboard and or alerting around that, right? I could have an annotation called, hot or Jeremiah's favorites or whatever, right? And I can quickly make changes. So now I want to make sure that my latency is going to be a little lower. I want to keep an eye on some of my IO. I want to especially pay attention to, to errors on my fabric at this time. but only for ports that have anything to do with the things that I'm serving. So, I'm sure you get my point here that this can be, broad or it can be specific. And then notifications can be sent out by email, of course. But why not have that, alert generate a ticket in your incident manager from a webhook, right? Or you can send out webhooks and maybe that'll alert your team or another team, via like Slack or Teams. So we continue to watch our customers reduce mean time to resolution and unplanned downtime, using a single pane of glass to help you save wasted IT dollars through optimization, reduced operational software costs, and ultimately help your organization become more efficient, all by reducing the complexities of today's IT infrastructure. And you may ask how we do this. So let's see. So at scale, right? So every challenge that I've talked about today becomes more complex with scale. I work with some of our largest customers and I often see challenges of scale. So, at some point, some tools just become no longer functional, right? They can't look at that many things. Another complaint is upgrading and patching tools. Tool servers become untenable because now there might be hundreds of them. And as a SaaS product, NetApp's going to take care of that hosting and carrying and feeding, patching of this product. And we built it on microservices to easily scale the backend when needed. All of your assets will be recorded in one place so you can report on them from a global perspective, have the visibility of assets regardless of location or vendor, and be able to monitor and drill down to specifics from there. Installation's easy. I get most of our customers collecting data in about an hour, and you can use that data immediately. We have a gallery of dashboards and standard alerts based on best practices to get you started. Our dashboards are easy to create and edit. And the interface, as I've been saying, it's intuitive and it's consistent. So, members of these different teams can interact with Cloud Insights without having to learn a new tool whenever they want to view a different part of the infrastructure. NetApp Cloud Insights will help you manage your complex infrastructure by simplifying the observability into a single pane of glass. But really don't just take my word for it, right? Cloud Insights, it's a trusted solution that's been recognized by third-party analysts and by customers. So I think we'll be able to share a link where you can request a demo from someone like myself, or you can start up a free trial on your own and just kind of get going there. And of course, we're available in the AWS Marketplace. And that's all I have. So I'm open for Q&A.
All right. Sounds great. Again, lots of interaction, lots of questions. So let's try to field as many as we can. In terms of sharing that link, you guys could share it right into the chat, like in the questions section of the console if you like, or if you have like a short link, we can shout it out too. So, we can figure that out in the next few minutes here.
Great.
One thing, I am going to throw up a poll once again. Your slide is much prettier than my poll, but I'm going to throw this up anyway.
Go for it.
Any additional information that you guys out there listening would like about the NetApp solution, feel free to plunk that in. Let them know exactly what you're looking for, and they will get it to you after today's event, so you can get exactly what you're looking for when you'll want it. Easy peasy. And with that, I'm going to fire a few questions at you here, Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Okay. First one here is, can Cloud Insights help us migrate to the cloud?
Absolutely. So this is a great use case for us. So as I was, as I mentioned, right, we can look at your VMs and we can understand over time what they do. So we're pulling in all those metrics. We understand the capacity. We understand their CPU and memory utilization, as well as what they're doing with their disks, right? we take a look at that over time, and so as we collect data, we kind of hold it in the front end for quite a while, and we also ETL it to our data warehouse. And in our data warehouse, we're able to do, we're very flexible and able to do a lot of work back there for analysis like this. We do have some reports, and these are kind of canned reports that we have available for our customers, where we can, so we have that data about your VMs. We can, take your rate card, or we can just use a standard rate card that you might have for, AWS, Azure, GCP, plug that in, and then we'll do some analysis and show you how you're using those VMs now and how they relate to instances in whichever provider that you're looking at going towards. So we'll say, you have this VM, you've allocated, these specs to it. Really what you need is this other size, because you're not using the CPU like you think you are, or as you've allocated, and maybe same for the memory. We'll even tell you what type of disk we believe you should take, as well as the capacity. So what we do is we have that report that helps customers understand, what they need to how they need to do that migration. And then once they do the migration, we can actually rerun the same report, let's say monthly, for optimization. Make sure that your workloads up there are optimized in the right size. We have, several customers that are doing that. They're saving a ton of money by, resizing their instances once they've made their migration every couple, every month or every few months.
Wow, incredible! So quite handy diagnosis of exactly what you can do.
Yeah, it's a great tool.
Thank you. Awesome. Okay, next question I've got here is, how scalable is the observability solution from NetApp for future digital work?
Sure. So, scalable for future digital work. I mean, if the question is kind of around new data collectors, maybe, or I might need a little bit more info on that. But if I were to guess, if you're asking how scalable it is, for new vendors, for us to look at new vendors, basically the process of what we do to add additional data collectors is that we're going to look at feature requests. So as a solution architect, I have customers might say, hey, we're looking at this product. Do you support it? We might not support it out of the box. I'll make a feature request for that. When, a few customers, or there's just a large enough, a request for it, we'll look into going ahead and building it. We can use Telegraph to go ahead and collect data from things that we don't have collectors for. So we're fairly flexible in the ways that we can pull data that we might not out of the box support. But our process for, supporting new technologies is pretty straightforward and driven by customers.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure but I think you nailed that, or at least probably got to what was being asked.
At least nailed an answer.
Exactly. Good job. Okay, next one is, can you provide observability for workloads hosted on AWS, and what types of workloads?
Sure. So so we can provide workloads for AWS. What we're looking at when we're looking at the workload AWS, we can look at we're looking at Kubernetes, we're looking at EC2, we can look at S3, and then we can look at all of the native first-party NetApp products that we have out there. So FSXN, for instance, or Cloud Volumes on Tap. We can look at all of those. And again, kind of like same as my last answer, if that doesn't cover something that you're looking at, Telegraph is a great option to go ahead and pull in that additional data.
Excellent. Okay, here's one about money, and I'm not going to make it awkward, this thing. How can you help save you money with Broadcom VMware licensing? Can Cloud Insights help with right-sizing our VM instances?
Yes, this is a use case that is very hot right now. And so the answer is yes, we can. And so I understand Broadcom has put all of our customers in a very tough position right now. And so what we are doing with customers we're doing a kind of a variety of things. One, we built a report in our data warehouse where what we're going to do is we're going to plug in the dollar amount that they're going to charge you per CPU. And so we can get an idea of what cost is going to look like. And then looking at the performance, basically what we're going to try to do is consolidate. We're going to try to get you off as many CPUs as possible and as much hardware as possible and make you more dense. So we produce a report showing that. Where can you get more dense? How can you clean up waste? And those sort of things. The other way that we're kind of helping is that we have customers that, knee-jerk reaction, of course, is, hey, I'd like to just walk away from VMware. And while I understand, and that's not really reasonable, I don't think, in most cases, but hey, how can we get you, partially moved off, I think is very reasonable. And we have a lot of customers asking that. So same thing about like cloud migration, right? We can help with that. We do support other hypervisors. So we can, we again can kind of give you that optimization report and help you optimize as you move over to a new platform, be it on-prem or in the cloud. Just whatever we can do. We have lots of options to help you, optimize, consolidate, and make yourself more dense.
Okay, excellent. Okay, one final question because we're getting close to time here. Someone's asking, can your solution provide a single pane of glass between VMs and hyperscalers?
Absolutely. So one of the interesting things that we do that I really didn't get into much was we're normalizing data. So as we pull in all this data, we really want to make as many things as we can look like apples to apples. So when you're comparing things like VMs or volumes or nodes, we normalize that data so you can look at all of them and make some, base comparisons, right? Like which of my nodes are the fastest, or which ones have the most latency, which ones are filling up the most. And yes, we definitely do that with VMs. So that report that I've talked about a little bit here, that optimization report, right, for migrating to the cloud, we're actually just going to treat a VM and an instance exactly the same, which is why you can use that same report on-prem, in the cloud, and use it for a migration for both. So yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, this question snuck in, and I think it's fairly simple. So Justin's asking, is this AWS only, or are there also plans for Azure?
Oh, as far as where it's hosted? Yes, we are actually planning to host in Azure as well. Okay. And if you're talking about collection, we are collecting from AWS, Azure, and GCP.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay. And then I guess final question is anything you want to leave the audience with, final call to action, where they should go, what they should do, something you want to leave them with?
Yeah, absolutely. So, contact us and let's set up a live demo, right? This is a very consolidated version of what I like to do in a demonstration. So about 60 minutes or so, and, get some use cases and do a real pointed demo of how we can simplify your chaos, right? Make things easier and give you back some time.
I love that. Anyone who can simplify my chaos is in my good books. Beautiful. Well, with that, I'm going to let you go, Jeremiah. Thank you so much for being here today, and thanks for sharing so much awesome information here.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Mackenzie.
Take care. Cheers. All right, everybody. So that does wrap things up with the awesome team at NetApp. So please do go check out the handouts tab if you have not already. This is important. This is awesome information. We are going to wrap things up here in just a couple minutes. So if you haven't gone over there, grab the PDF from Scale Computing and from NetApp. For NetApp, you have a solution brief, the NetCloud App Insights Control. And you can learn how to control the performance, utilization, and health of your on-prem and cloud workloads. And with that, let's give away our last couple of prizes and send you all on your way. We have 2 more $300 Amazon gift cards to give away. Quick reminder, you do need to be present to win. So let's hope you're out there listening. Drum roll, please. We have got Brian Falk from Ohio winning the second gift card. And our third and final winner is Joshua Murray from Oklahoma. So huge congratulations to all three of our winners. And just to recap, we have Amarpreet Singh from Maryland, Brian Falk from Ohio, and Joshua Murray from Oklahoma. As always, we'll be in touch about claiming your prize after the webinar, plus those best question gift cards for each of these sessions. And with that, I do want to say that if you're on our webinar today and you are curious to chat about presenting on a future Summit, EcoCast, or MegaCast webinar, we would absolutely love to hear from you. You can reach out via email at connect@actualtechmedia.com and open the conversation there. And if you liked what you heard today and you want to continue looking at storage and data and securing it, tomorrow we have an absolutely fantastic MegaCast kicking off same time, not the same place. You'll get a new link, but you can check out Protecting Your Data, the intersection of data security, security awareness, and ransomware. And we've got a whole boatload of different presenters there. So if you've got the time in your calendar, please do check that out. And I want to thank all of you for showing up today, taking the time in your day and spending it to learn some new things, ask some great questions, and open up your mind to what is coming down the pipeline so that you can indeed tame your storage chaos, simplify your on-prem and cloud-based storage architectures. And so another big thank you on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team. I want to thank our speakers from Scale Computing and NetApp for making this EcoCast possible. And again, huge thank you to all of you for being here today. So hopefully we'll see you on another session soon. And until then, I hope you have an absolutely magical day. Take care, everyone.